Hello, everyone, and welcome to TTR. This is the UK session for the 18th of the 10th. Final one of the week, in fact. Going to be joined by Ash. I'm Jeff, of course, talking to you live from Tasmania in Australia, just round about the bottom of the world. Well, save Antarctica, pretty close to there. Okay, first things we're going to look at today, I'll just share my screen, I hope, and have a look at what may be about to interrupt our trading, or at least affect our trading. First up, we had Aussie news this morning. Employment change was a miss to the downside for the Australian employment scene, where only 5.6 thousand jobs were created in the month of September it would be, yes, of course. But the big news is the unemployment rate dropped to 5%. That's a pretty healthy number for the Aussie. Absolutely a healthy number. If we have a look at that historically, there it is there, 5%. We haven't seen that number since May of 2012. So that's a particularly good number for the Aussie. One would have thought it might take off a little bit on that. But I guess the headline, the 5.6 thousand jobs, which was a very, very big miss. Of course, seasonally adjusted, I would, my take on that would be that we've just come through winter where less employment tends to be the case, given that Australia is very much a tourist destination these days, and not so much in winter, but throughout the summer, that number should climb. That's my take on it anyway. But this number here, the 5% unemployment rate, is absolutely a corker. So I would be expecting the Aussie might do well on the back of that. Coming up a little bit later, we've got pound news, retail sales coming up, and of course the European Economic Summit continues. I'm not so sure it made a heck of a difference yesterday, but certainly the market moved later in the UK session and into the US session as well. There was a little bit of volatility about, and suspecting that was probably a combination of the Euro Economic Summit and, of course, the release of the FOMC meeting minutes from last month. Anyways, not a whole lot to concern us apart from that Euro Economic Summit. Again, it's very, very difficult to know what and when anything will, if anything will happen or move the market. So a little bit tough to be trading around that. For that reason, again, today I'll be looking to trade the euro very lightly and the pound very lightly, which is what we did yesterday. And unfortunately, the euro got away on us with a bit of a big retracement on the move that I was looking for. And what else did we trade? The Aussie. We finally got a TP1 out of the Aussie, but no joy thereafter. The good news, I suppose, for yesterday for me, of course, is that the pound that I hope you guys jumped in on has gone south, and we were trading this. When we go to that chart, we were trading this underneath this bar here on a daily chart, and that has opened up a little bit now. We are through our first take profit area and looking quite strong, at least down to this trend line, one would think, if not the confluence area of monthly pivot and trend line that you can clearly see there. So time and motion, or time and price, may come together around about here somewhere, one would think. That's when about there somewhere. Probably next Monday-ish. I'm thinking that might happen. If it happens before then, I don't care. As long as it does happen, that would be good. Okay, as I say, Ash joining us very, very shortly. He's just trying to log in, having a few difficulties, as I understand it, with his internet connection in Singapore, but with us very shortly, one would hope. All right, first half hour of the show, as always, is all about analysis as we prepare for the UK Open. And I'm going to have a look at, first up, the euro today. As I said, the euro yesterday, where we were trying to get long to the monthly pivot, actually turned around on us and hit the bottom of this range that I've got depicted here by the rectangle again. And yeah, it wasn't. This is completely out of context for me. Again, probably fundamentals are at play here, and I just find it very, very difficult to find anything that interests me right now. However, if we do see a reversal bar here, so maybe a low test bar or something of that nature, this is the daily chart I'm looking at, mind you, then tomorrow it may be an option to trade long. If, of course, we continue down to this trend line, then there may be different stories depending on how it closes, that candle, that is. A lot of water to go under the bridge, of course, until that happens. If I look at the 4-hour chart, it doesn't look anything like a bullish scenario here, I'd have to say. And at this point in time, it's very much a case of just letting this go until it finds something of support. That support level could be actually where we are with this level here. Could be a bit deeper down to these lows. It's pretty much guesswork for me at the moment, and I'm not interested in trading the euro anytime soon, which is unusual for me because they're always interested in the euro. But let me have a look at the 30-minute chart and see if that's of any help to us at all. And a couple of things to note here. One is the daily pivot has crossed over the weekly pivot, so we are in bear mode once again with the monthly pivot up here. So everything's in alignment as far as that's concerned. However, when the daily pivot and the weekly pivot are close together, this tends to have a magnetic effect on the market for me. So I'd be very, very hesitant to jump into the market short here right now, despite the fact that there seems to be a groundswell of euro selling, if not dollar buying. One of those two things is in play. I would suggest dollar buying is the reason that we saw this yesterday. So my opinion is this. I would like to see price pull back here and retrace towards the pivots at least before I would consider taking a short at this point. I guess we could think about playing along. That is a separate word, long. Maybe off that little line there. Maybe a little bit later, but until that happens, I've absolutely got no interest in trading this cross until we get to that area. So I won't dwell on it any further. I think that's probably where I'm at with the euro today. So no longs, no shorts at this point. The Aussie, however, I am keen to get long. I was yesterday as well, but all we could do yesterday was get a first take profit. Eventually, get a first take profit, and that was about as good as it got. This is, of course, the daily chart. We traded on the 30-minute chart, got taken in here, hit our first take profit, but then bang, that's as good as it got. On the back of this news today, one would suspect these two green bars is the result of that. And I see this as a possible bounce off the daily pivot. That's pretty much what I'm seeing there. Don't really like this as a setup on the 4-hour chart because it's taken two candles to come across it, one candle to come back. I do like the fact that it's come back across the daily pivot. And of course, there's a fair bit to go in this candle yet. So I won't be making any predictions as to what I'm going to do in 3 hours' time, or 2 hours' time, whatever the case may be. But I will have a little look at the 30-minute chart to see if there's anything there that does interest me. I'll just go a tad wider to get perspective here. Not a great deal of encouragement here. This trade line or trend line that goes up through here may be of interest to us. I'll just get rid of this one here because it's a 4-hour trend line, not a 30-minute trend line. There we go. That makes it look a little bit better. Ooh, what would I be looking for here? Really not a lot off that line. I might put a support line in as well. That probably interests me more than this one. And what I'd like to see is price get down to here, hit this line here, maybe break it and find support in the weekly pivot, then climb back above it and retest it. If that were the case, I'd be very, very tempted to go long. Is a short even considerable or a consideration for me is the next question that I've got. And not here. I think we're in no man's land right now. So we're not at support, we're not at resistance. And I'd like to see price get there at some stage before I did make a decision on which way I am to go here. I am bullish by bias, but I can see, if I go back to the 4-hour chart, I can definitely see that we've got a bearish engulfing bar here and potentially a lower high and a break of that trend line and a retest of that trend line. So this could actually break down here without surprising. So I'm really not convicted to any direction right now, although I do have a bullish outlook. What I'd probably like to see to get really bullish would be price to get above this line here and maybe then retest it. I think we'll be taking on those highs if that's the case. So fasten your seatbelts on the Aussie. I think there may be a trade coming up for us, but it's going to take a little while on the 30-minute charts to get to that resistance line or support line. Now, cable's looking good for us. As I said, we traded this on the daily chart yesterday and trading this bar here, this green one. We've now gone through TP1 and getting close to 1-to-1, but not quite. Obviously, we're going to have a little bit of a hold up here at this level, which is where the price on or over the weekend actually gapped to. As you can see, a fairly decent gap there in pound US dollar, which closed immediately. And now we're coming back the other side. So I'm quite keen on this and have been since I saw that candle right there, to be fair. It's taken a long, long time to play out. And when I got into this short some weeks ago, I thought we were off to the races then. But as history and this chart will tell you, that wasn't to be the case, and we got a little bit of a reward out of it, but not the full reward I was looking for. I'm hopeful this might be it, and if it is, we've got a target down here somewhere, some 400 odd pips away. So we'll see how that goes. As far as today's concerned, look, I'm thinking more of the same, but that said, there's always room for retracement, and that retracement again, when I've got pivots very, very close together, that's where I'm looking. I'm looking for perhaps the daily pivot to be tested and then price to fall away. So I'll be looking to sell the rallies, of course, and hoping that this can form a trend and get us into some nice profit. That would be good. So no trade here on the 4-hour chart at the moment. Let me see if the 30-minute chart will be of interest to us at any stage. A little bit of a hammer sitting there. We would be trading counter trend, of course, if we were looking for a long here. And despite the fact that I am in this short position, I have no qualms about trading long on a 30-minute chart when I'm short on a daily. That's no issue to me at all. So what I'd be looking for here is price to either break this line. It's a bit tricky here because the high of the day sits on the changeover, and that's that level there. We've also got this level here, which is, I'll call it the other high of the day, which matches this little tweezer bottom here, which came to nothing, hit the weekly pivot and the way it went. Yeah, look, it's interesting, but not convincing. I don't think I'd like to enter the market into either one of those levels without profit. So it's going to be a little bit tough. I see the potential reversal in the hammer. I'd like to see a higher low but the higher low is going to get me very, very close to those resistance areas. So it's going to be a little bit tough to trade this long. Even if I took that level out, I think I need to take them both out before I get interested. But look, I'll keep my eye on this line, and we'll see what happens. But at this point, I'm just not seeing a clean enough entry to get me to trade back to the daily pivot at this point. So we'll keep that as it is. Euro yen. Now I am keen on yen's prospects, and I think I was talking about this yesterday, where I saw a potential for the yen to strengthen. Already it's shown signs of that, and we'll have a look at dollar yen to just give us a bit of context around that. The sell-off of dollar yen began at the beginning of this month, and we're really cycling nicely down, and we've got a very nice retracement sitting here that's gone back to the weekly pivot and the daily pivot. This would be a great place to trade from if we can find an entry. Maybe even this trend line here might be a great place to trade from, where this confluence meets. So I'm thinking, yes, potential bounce here, but the daily pivot, of course, is holding us up. This may just oscillate in this area for a little bit yet. But I am still bearish anything against the yen. So let's take a look at that and the prospects of that. I don't want to trade short here. This is euro yen I'm looking at. And the reason I don't want to trade short here is because we're right on that support level. So to enter the market short here is tantamount to suicide trading, and I don't do that. What I'd like to see is price come back to this area, again, to a trend line and all resistance. Any resistance is fine. Daily pivot would do, but there's a nice confluence here again in the weekly pivot, and of course that resistance trend line. So best case scenario, price gets back up to here, finds resistance, and then falls away, or even here and then falls away. The second, and probably more, I won't say more likely, but more opportunistic way to look at this would be for price to stop here, give me a reversal situation, and allow us to trade back to this area. So I'm not against that in any way, shape, or form. Yes, we've got a fairly strong bearish trend now, which is in consolidation, but I'll be willing to trade this back to here if I get the opportunity. So the 30-minute chart, there's nothing there in the 4-hour for ages yet, so the 30-minute chart will be the one I'll be looking to trade. And what do we need to see? Well, I'd need to see a reversal bar to start with. Now, that reversal bar could be a bullish engulfing bar. That would be fine, and that could happen now. Or I'd like to see a hammer, something like that, sitting there. And you can see what that can do to the market. So I'd be happy to see something like that sitting here. That's not going to be in this candle, of course, so we won't be trading this anytime soon. But even if I do see that, that would be only a hint that we're going long. It's not a convincing enough tail for me to actually jump into the market and say, all right, let's go. I would then need to see a higher low at least before I look to trade that long. So I don't see anything in those 4 crosses we've already looked at that makes me think, okay, from the get-go, I want to get into this market. But I do definitely see opportunities. There's no question there. And they're unfolding before our eyes, of course. This one, pound yen, again, looking to be bearish, of course. Okay, I'll just pause there. Ash is talking to me because he's having trouble with his hotel connection. He's just trying to get a good connection to join us. In the meantime, I'll just continue what I'm doing and analysing what my charts are telling me. Pound yen. Pound yen was a nice little trade there earlier, actually, on pound yen after the break here and trading down to this level, the low here. That would have been a take profit area. Obviously too early in the day for me, but there you go. What would I be expecting here now? What would I like to see here now? I think what I would like to see here now is something of a pullback. Um, if not testing this trend line, then breaking it again. So re-breaking it, getting back above it, and then off to the daily pivot. Yes, I'm bearish, but I can definitely see room for I won't even call it a retracement. I'll call it a little rally. That's what I'll call it. Back to either the trend line or indeed the daily pivot. So very, very common theme, what I'm looking for. I'd like to think this is going short, but again, going short at this support level is a question that I cannot even embrace, rather much less take. So there won't be any trade there short for me. I need to have this pullback, similar to most. This is a new one in the stable. I haven't really traded Aussie Kiwi at all before, but I'm seeing things that I like in the cross, and I guess it's always been thus. It is a ranging cross and ranges very, very often, and with this strategy that I trade, it's very much a take advantage of the range strategy. And what I'm seeing here is the break of the bottom of the most recent range, which is fairly clear here on the daily chart, and now an entry or a re-entry into that range. That interests me. And what I'll be looking for here is price to give me, well, because I haven't really got a trend going on here, I'd be willing to trade this without seeing a confirmation of the potential reversal. So always best to find that. But if I don't see that and I still see a setup, I think I'll be willing to trade this long. So what am I looking for then? Well, here on the 4-hour chart, as you can see, we've come back into the range. This is on the back, of course, of that employment number coming out, or unemployment number coming out from Australia. And now we're getting a retest, perhaps, of the bottom of that range. This is good. And I'm willing to take a trade here if I can find an entry. If this 4-hour candle was to be a low test bar, it would be tempting, but I don't think it'd be compelling. I'd be having a candle of that size around about 22 pips, and I'll be trading straight into that level, which only gives me about 7 or 8 pips by the time the spreads are taken into consideration. So I'd wait for probably another candle down here as a bit of a reversal bar. If I got that, then I'd be willing to take it straight away. So we'll keep our eye on Aussie Kiwi. That's the 4-hour chart, as I said. But now, as I look at the 30-minute chart, I'm actually seeing something that that does interest me. The one thing that really concerns me here is this scenario: high test bar, low test bar. If it does form, it's a combination that I don't like to see. But I will take this as a potential trade here. So if not on the 30-minute chart, perhaps on the hourly chart. That would be better if I saw this as this were to retrace this exact bar right now in the next 4 minutes and give me even a doji sitting here would be good for me to trade. So I'll be looking at that in 4 minutes time. Aussie Kiwi. Aussie yen, probably the one exception that I have here in terms of wanting to get short against the yen. And the reason for that is I haven't got a gold chart up for some reason. We might fix that in a little bit. But Aussie, as I said yesterday, tends to, not so much shadow gold, but it's got very, very similar chart patterning to what gold has in a longer term sense. So I'm not thinking if gold goes long, Aussie will instantly go long, but it is a marker for me. And for that reason, I'm a little bit hesitant to call the Aussie short against the yen. You can see we've gone into consolidation. You can see the Aussies trying. You can see this beautiful bar here off the weekly pivot. Actually, that's a really nice bar here off the weekly pivot on the 4-hour chart. Late yesterday, I hadn't really seen that before. And you'd be probably thinking long at that point. If this daily pivot retest is anything to go by, and there is a reversal bar here, I think this is a very, very good opportunity to get long here. Okay, I'm very interested in this one. So that's the 30-minute chart. Again, we've got a high test bar, low test bar situation. What's the hourly telling me? Yeah, again, if this turns into a low test bar, I'd be very keen to test the waters here and throw a little bit of money at it and see if we can take these highs out. This is a very, very strong signal here for me. And I'd really like this to have tested the daily pivot, although I see price has already done that today. So it's not a compulsory thing, but it's a preference that I would have. If it doesn't give us a reversal bar here, then I won't go in. But what I will be looking for anytime soon is the chance to find a reversal bar. And if it tested the daily pivot, all the better. So Aussie yen, very strong contender as well. So Aussie Kiwi, Aussie yen, looking at both of those in a couple of minutes to see how we're faring. Eurocad's another one. As you can see, I haven't got my range finder on this one yet, but it's pretty clear to me that we've got a range coming through here. Let's call it about there somewhere. We could even go a little bit higher if we wanted to, but we're right at the top of that range again, and we're banging our head on it. Liking the look of this for a short at some stage. So I'd like to see. I won't trade this as a reversal bar. What I will trade is potentially a lower high here if I find one. Got a nice little trend line going up through there as well that I can see. Yeah, it's interesting. This is the 30-minute chart. I'm going to have a look at the hourly as well. Probably more interesting than I thought it was. The hourly, what's it telling me? Not very keen on that here. Doji. Pretty ordinary. Okay, I think we'll be leaving that one alone for now. But yeah, I'm interested. If I see something here that looks like a potential breakdown, I will be looking to have a crack at that. Okay, that's probably it as far as analysis is concerned at the moment. We will wait for the opening candle and see what we can find. There'll be no trade here on the opening candle, but I will be looking at, well, there's the open now. Euro yen's interesting, pound yen's interesting. So the candles that we got on Aussie Kiwi, spinning top, no interest. What's it look like on the 30-minute chart? Looks beautiful on a 30-minute chart, but like I said before, I don't trade high test bar, low test bar together. That would have been a nice trade yesterday. I can't remember which cross it was, but there was that situation yesterday which turned out to be a good trade. That doesn't change my mind. One winner does not a career trading make, and I've seen this many times before turn sour, so I won't be trading that. Aussie yen, again, didn't give us the bar that we were looking for, but still very interested in trading that long. What did the 30-minute candle look like? Yeah, it's an inside bar, and again, everything's too leggy here for me at the moment. I want to see this candle on the open and see exactly how that closes. So no trades at this point, but yeah, there's plenty that we're keeping our eye on. Guys, just give me a tick. I've got Ash talking to me in the background, and I'll just see where he's at, and then I'll be back with you in 2 ticks. Okay, yeah, Ash still having lots of trouble with his internet in the lobby of the hotel now. He's finding it very, very difficult to get connected. All right, I'm going to have a look at a few bigger picture things whilst we're waiting for these candles to show us what's going on. And I'm going to bring gold in here because I think it's important. So let's put a chart of gold up, and I've got a template here somewhere. There we go. I might just put up a comparative chart with the Aussie as well, so you can see exactly what I'm talking about, and not thinking that I'm just talking out of the top of my head. Let me go there and bring the Aussie in. There's the Aussie. We'll make that a bit bigger. There we go. We'll make that a bit smaller. And we'll use the same chart. We'll go daily on that one, daily on that one, and see what we can see, if anything. Maybe this one needs to be a bit bigger, yeah? Not that big. Okay, I can't quite get the aspect perfect, but if I go to the weekly, it might be clearer. Yeah, that's a bit better. Okay, so if you have a look at this, sorry about my dog. If you have a look at this, this is gold on the bottom, and we've got the Aussie up the top. As I said, it's not a direct replica, and there is no direct correlation either. What you can see here, however, is that at the same time, we're going pretty much in the same direction, and we're rallying at the same time. We're dipping at the same time, rallying at the same time, dipping at the same time, rallying at the same time. A little bit more consolidation there on gold than there was on the Aussie at the beginning of this year. But since then, you can see that the waterfall has taken over, had a rally back here, rally here. This has gone into consolidation again. This is gold, where the Aussie probably didn't do so much. But now it's started to rally off what potentially is the bottom, of course, this being gold. And so is the Aussie. So this is the indirect correlation that I'm talking about. I'm not expecting on a 30-minute chart gold to go and then the Aussie to follow it by any stretch. But what I am expecting is that, let's say by the end of November, if gold's up here, that the Aussie will be thinking about it also. And that's precisely what's in my mind as I look at the Aussie charts at the moment. And I start to think, well, okay, if gold really is reversing, if we really are going into a risk-off market, maybe we're seeing the potential for the Aussie to rally. And after all, it's due, isn't it? It's had a terrible year, absolutely shocker. Because we've gone from, pardon me, just around about the 82 mark, which is, let's see exactly what it was. Yeah, 81.36. Sorry, I exaggerated a little bit. And now we're sitting around about the 71. So we've gone a heck of a long way. 1,000 odd pips has the Aussie fallen since the beginning of the year. So is it due for a rally? Well, why not? Can't see a reason why not. So let's go and take a look at that and see what that might look like and how we might consider being able to trade it. Okay, so on a weekly chart here, I don't see any inkling of a trade for me at this point in time. There's no sign of a reversal here in terms of a chart pattern. You've got a little bit of a candle that's rallied, and that is all. Maybe one that's attempting to do the same. but there's no reason here to think that this is reversing anytime soon. Retracing, yes, most definitely. That's what I can see. But reversing, no, I don't think so. Daily chart. Well, if we have a look at the daily chart, can we see anything there that interests us? Well, yes, we can. Well, yes, I can, because I see a very substantial bullish engulfing bar here. And now I'm seeing a little bit of consolidation. What I'd really like to see is a decent retracement. Maybe the weekly pivot is the area that we're looking at here to find a nice entry long. Like I said, I'm not looking anytime soon to just jump into the market here and say, okay, let's go long the Aussie. Although, if the opportunities do arise, obviously we'll take them. Not as a full-blooded, full-risk trade at this point, because I don't think that's wise. I think we're probably going to get a couple of attempts at this if it does go. And I'll be looking to take the second one, not the first one, at real risk. So the risk that I'll put in here will be minimal compared to what I will if the second opportunity does arise. Now, speaking of opportunities, there does appear to be a nice one over here in the confluence of monthly pivot and the top of this channel. This channel, again, that's been forming or has formed since the beginning of the year, right here, back in mid-January, I think it was, as a matter of fact, where that high was. Yeah, Australia Day. There you go. How coincidental. Tumble began on Australia Day. How interesting. I didn't notice that before. Anyway, that's really irrelevant. How do we trade this? We wait for this weekly pivot test. I think that's the wise way to go. So the 4-hour chart is kind of there, but not. And you can see that this resistance area that we've got dead ahead of us is probably going to hold us up here, if at the very least, rather. But should it break this line here, or even the confluence area, should that break, that then becomes a positive. And again, we've got a bullish engulfing bar here. So a higher low does get me interested. So we're right in the zone here, as far as I'm concerned. We could find the best case scenario being the weekly pivot test. If that were to be the case, then I'd be very happy. But I am prepared to trade it here, maybe even off the daily pivot. And we'll see what this candle looks like when it closes in about an hour and 50 minutes. I will, however, be looking at the smaller time frames, of course. And what I see here is a nice little higher low, perhaps, and a potential reversal bar. But I don't like the long tails on both these candles. If it does turn out to be a reversal, reversal, then I'll probably miss it. But again, I think I'll be getting more than one opportunity. So I'm going to wait for the right time rather than what looks to be a potential opportunity. And this is not it for me. I need to see something a little bit better. We're also looking, if we went to go long here, trading into the daily pivot. Yes, the daily pivot's been tested, broken and rebroken, but it's still there and it's still a level. And until it's clear, I really just want to wait here. So hanging on for the Aussie to give me a clear signal that it's ready to go. And whilst it's close, it's actually not there just yet. The hourly chart that we looked at before is showing me nothing there that's tradable at this point. But should it come, and I think the level that I'd be most interested in would be this one here, where we've seen support, resistance, support, resistance, all the way along that line. So I'd really like to see it get down to there. As I say, weekly pivot better still. If it did that, got back above it, retested it, then that's the place to go for me. So whilst, yes, I'm definitely alert to the fact that the Aussie could rally, I'm definitely not going to just jump into the market for no particular reason. What else? The yen crosses. Let's go back to those, shall we? Excluding Aussie yen at the moment, because I have that bullish outlook. I don't necessarily have a bullish outlook on euro dollar, but I can also see the possibility for it to rally, because we're banging on the bottom of that rectangle, and look at that candle right there. Beautiful, beautiful reversal bar. Would we be willing to trade that is the question. And the answer for me is a definite no. And the reason is we're trending short, don't forget. And I need to see something of a reversal here confirmed. Got the reversal bar, but we haven't got confirmation. The confirmation for me comes in the form of a higher low, something like that. So where there's a reversal here, I'm not jumping into the market right now. I'm waiting till I get this scenario. So that's exactly what I'll be doing here as well. And it happened here again. Bullish engulfing bar, higher low. That's the trade. Bullish engulfing bar, looking for the higher low, didn't get it. So I've now got a hammer, looking for a higher low. If I get the higher low, I'll look to trade it. But it's not there at this point. Pound yen. Yeah, look, again, I'm looking short, in particular this one, because I'm thinking strong yen coming and weak pound at the moment. So definitely looking to trade this short, but not from here. Again, trading into these lows is just a suicide attempt for me, and I don't tend to commit suicide anytime soon, so I won't be looking at that. Rather, what would I be looking for? To be fair, I'm looking for another daily pivot test, and that suits me more than where we are now. That's for sure. It's far better and more sensible, in my opinion, to trade short off resistance than it is to trade short off support or at support. And we are at support, so to trade short here for me is just not really a great option. It's not a high probability trade, and that's what I'm into. I'm into high probability. That's interesting. That's really interesting. I mean, that's a nice scenario, and in a different context, I'd be very interested to trade that right now. But it's trading straight into this low, and it's not an option. If it goes, it goes. You know, that's just something up with which you have to put. But you've got to trade your strategy, and you've got to trade to high probability. You can do anything you like. I have to trade to a high probability scale, and that's not high probability in my humble opinion, although I am keen to get short. Same on Euro Yen. I am keen to get short, but not at this level. So everything is very similar at the moment, apart from this one. And this is the Aussie Yen, as we spoke of. Keen to see the Aussie go long. And I think there's an opportunity here in particular, and I'm repeating myself a little bit, I suppose, maybe even off the daily pivot. We've got this beautiful bar here that probably was tradable, in fact. I don't like to trade in retrospect, and that's why I'm really not considering trading this, although it is very, very tempting on the 4-hour chart, I must say. What would I be looking at here? 40 pip of risk. Yeah, it's still worth it, isn't it? Still worth it. But I'm not going to jump in at the market. I just don't jump into the market at the market. And that's what I would have to do here to take that trade. Had I seen that earlier, before obviously it took off, which would have been very difficult. You would have had to trade it on the retracement, basically, on a live candle. And again, very, very tough, because you wouldn't have had time to get into this move, I don't think. Maybe you would have. Tough to say. But there's more often than not a second opportunity, and that's what I'll be waiting for here. So let me just put in some lines from which I can look to trade. That one there is interesting, but really not something I want to trade off for the same reason. I said it before. It's tough for me to trade long at resistance. I want to trade short at resistance, not long. And I'm at resistance, so it's not where I want to enter the market. Down here, however, is a completely different story. So what I'd like to see is price get down to here and give us an opportunity to trade off support long. So that's where I'm at with Aussie yen. I do like that particular scenario. It's a nice confluence here in weekly pivot. It would be a backup for this one here, this beautiful reversal bar. And that's where I'd be liking to, or looking, if you like, to trade long off that confluence area of weekly pivot and support trade line. So that's the Aussie yen. Did I say long? I meant long. If I didn't say long, I've just about got them all covered. I think they're the only one. Oh, let's have a look at dollar yen, shall we? Again, this looks really jammed, log jammed here. When I see the pivots very, very close together, as these are, daily pivot, monthly pivot, weekly pivot, all sandwiched together, what's that really telling me? It's really telling me that the market is in equilibrium. So it's where it wants to be at this point in time. It's actually a point that is the fait accompli, really, because when the pivots have come together, they're actually telling you a story. And the story they're telling you is that the market is not terribly sure which way it wants to go. Now, if you look at the, I suppose, big picture here, we're seeing that consolidation here because that's what that means. Pivots close together really does mean consolidation. We've poked our nose through the top of this consolidation, which is this range here. Let me put that on the chart as well. So we're probably, it's tough to really pick it in terms of exactness here, but it's definitely a range or a consolidation area. You could probably even take it to there if you wanted to. I'll keep it there. I think that's fair enough. One false break to the low side. Is this to be a false break to the high side? I think so, but I can't obviously prove that in any way, shape, or form, nor can I trade it at the moment because I've only got a hint of that. I haven't got a confirmation of that. So I'll be looking for that. If we get back into this range, into the little rectangle, in particular underneath the daily pivot, and then maybe retest it, then I'm interested in trading the short. But I can definitely see here also a chart pattern that would suggest that we're potentially going to rally. And that is a left shoulder, a head, and a right shoulder. So we've really got an inverted head and shoulders sitting here. If we put this neckline in, that's what I'm seeing at the moment. Potential retest of that. So that again becomes the line in the sand for me. This is the area from which I would like to trade. So I want to see price give me the indication here that yes, it's willing to go short. And how will it do that? Well, it'll break the daily pivot, it'll break the top of the range, and it will break that trend line. And if it does all of those three things, that's clear intent for me. That price is ready to fall. Then I would like to see a retracement back to retest those areas. And if I did see that, that would be the time I'd be looking to take this trade short. So very, very interesting here. If it were not to break back through here and give me a reversal bar, maybe this is even it. Then this head and shoulders becomes far more interesting than it is at the moment, or this inverted head and shoulders. I know you'll probably be thinking, gee, we're screaming for a Fibonacci level here. What sort of a retracement have we got on that rally? Well, we went through the 61.8 and bounced off it. And now if we turn this one around and go the other way, it'd be hard to see. I'll blow it up a bit. Oops. Okay, what have we got? Fibo. It annoys me sometimes. I don't use it often. Oh, I can't grab it. There we go. Right, so let's pull it from here. Whoops, wrong tool. Let me try that again. Fibo. From here to here. Yeah, interesting. We're about 50% right now. Right now, at that level, suggesting to me, oh, go away. Suggesting to me that this could go around for a second. But if I look at yeah, that's interesting as well. That's also in this way. Yeah, it's not sure, is it? I'm not sure. I can make a case either way here, I think. Ooh,
Hello, mate.
I've got Ash here.
Can you hear me?
I can't hear you. I wonder why.
You hear me all right, mate?
I've got a bad internet connection. G'day, Ash. It's good to see you, but
Mate, sorry, the sound's really bad here. I'm in the hotel foyer.
Maybe it's me that can't hear you, and everyone else can. Oh, there you are. Hello, mate.
How you doing? All right?
Going okay. You found an internet that works.
I got here in the end. Yeah, it's pretty tough, but I thought I'd just quickly pop in and say hi.
Good man. Where are you?
So I am in a hotel lobby. The room internet is just diabolical. So I've come down to the hotel lobby, and it looks like the internet's a bit better down here.
Sounding good.
Good. All right, that's a start. Anyway, I should have probably gone and got my headphones, but I won't run off now because I've only just managed to find you.
And you're working hard, they told me.
Oh, mate, it's I literally arrived. Oh, hold on. The boss is calling. I'll speak to him shortly.
Okay. They're driving him hard over there in Singapore, obviously. It's clear that that's the case. Okay, so where do I get to? I got to the point where we've come to this resistance level, the weekly pivot. We've come back off it, and now this daily pivot's holding price up. One of two ways to look at it, as I said, and I can make a case for either. The thing is, I can't trade either here. I can't really, in all sincerity, trade into this resistance area if I were to get this bar as it looks now. It looks very bullish, looks like a beautiful bounce area without question. But for me, there's no possible way for me to trade into that high. It's the high of the day, and I don't trade into the high of the day. It's at a strong resistance level, and it's a no for me. We've also got this trend line that's been broken. It's a neckline, in fact. It needs a retest, and although this looks very compelling for a long, I won't be taking that given those three scenarios. Are you back, mate?
I am, yeah. I am back. I just thought I'd check out what you're looking at. What?
I'm actually looking at dollar yen, and the reason I'm looking at dollar yen is I'm very keen to trade pretty much anything short against the yen, and have been pretty much all week. I see the yen strengthening.
Yeah.
And I'm willing to get short just about anything. But the Aussie today is something I'm not willing to trade short. And the reason I'm not willing to trade short is it produced a fantastic number that we haven't seen for about 6 years.
Right.
And that is the unemployment rate fell by 0.3%, which is pretty massive, down to 5%, which is a bloody good number. So I can't trade against that, I don't think. So you haven't had much of a chance to look at charts, I gather?
Well, do you know what? I have been looking intermittently, and there's a couple of things that I like, two trades that I quite like.
Okay.
I'm with you. Well, kind of with the pound yen, I was looking at actually a short. But let me see if I can show you what the two trades that I'm waiting to shape up. If I can, let me see if I can do it.
See if it works.
So,
do I have to do anything to get?
Let me know if you can see this. Can you see that?
Yeah, I can.
Great. Okay, so let's get rid of this, just so it's a bit bigger. So the FTSE, I'm interested in a long. These are the futures, but it's going to be the same, throughout. We've just started to kind of climb from these lows down here, and we're starting to hit this point, fairly regularly and bounce. The issue is that there's a lot of noise just before we're kind of, we're starting to push forward, and there's quite a lot of noise between this point. So if we're taking intraday trade, it's going to be kind of hard. But the hourly is going to be the key here, and this is the level that I'm looking at breaking. And what I'm going to look for on the hourly is a break and a back test, and it's got to break in the maybe 9 till 10 o'clock, something like that. We might not be looking at a trade until this afternoon. And it does break through and pulls back here. Then I'm going to be looking at trades in this area here, which is going to be around the price of this break also, which is around about the 70.40 area. So that's the area that I'm looking to go long. But as I say, I need to see a break and a back test first. So it's going to be at least 9, 10 o'clock, maybe 11 o'clock before actually any trades are triggered. If now is 8:30 UK time, so we're looking at around about 2.5 hours before we can really start to consider this. Now, if nothing shapes up before then we will look at trading at 2:30 UK time, which is in. What's that? Sorry, buddy.
How much ground do you think it can make up on the waterfall?
That's a good question. I think that the next point of call is going to be the 71.50 area. So we're down to this. If we're down at 70.40, so we're looking at a 100 pip run potentially. After that, who knows what's going to happen? But it'd be great to grab something in that 100 pip mark if we could. But that point of resistance, I think, will probably be respected because, as you say, it has been a very, very strong move to the downside. So there are going to be people that are waiting for any retracement so they can get out. The markets are under a lot of pressure, but inevitably it will retrace. And I think what we're going to be doing is trading the retracement. Now, obviously, counter that, if people aren't comfortable trading long in such a strong short market, you can wait for it to move into that kind of 71.50, 7200 area, and then look for the shorts. But there's so much room. That's the area that I'm going to look to take profit. Around those areas will be the area I'll look to take profit if I get entered.
Okie dokie.
Now, there's one other one as well I quite like. And that is this Euro CAD. Now, as the Euro CAD pulls back, this doesn't matter. I'm looking for a short, and again, I'm looking for a short from the hourly along this trend line here. So as it's up here, no big deal. You know, if we don't get into, we don't get into, because this has turned into an inverted head and shoulders. I have seen a little bit of CAD weakness, but the charts show for a short and a pretty good one at that. So again, we're going to need to break these lows here, and then move back into the area. So let me see if I can get the number here. We're looking at something like maybe the 14 one spot 498 area. So if it breaks down again, it's got to come back test and hold. And if it holds, then I'm going to be looking for shorts in that area. So they were the two that I kind of liked today. The chance of this one shaping up is looking a little bit more doubtful at this stage. But I suspect the FTSE probably will. So I think it's well worth being on alert with the FTSE for some potential trades. As I say, with this one, the inverted head and shoulders is is starting to look like it could be less likely to break to the downside. But because of that reversal pattern, if it does, I think we could be looking for some fairly decent moves lower. So I'm looking for that, and the target is going to come off the daily, which will be leading us down certainly to this point to start with, and then maybe even a bit lower. That's around about one spot 4916, and maybe even down to one spot 4866. So yeah, a couple of trades that I'm waiting on basically, but that's all it is for me right now. I see the potential for some trades, but I don't see anything triggering in. Certainly within the next hour, probably 3. If it does, then I can think we can start getting on board. But Euro CAD for a potential short, and FTSE for the two things I'm looking at.
Euro CAD's coming to a nice point at the moment. It's about how far short? Only about 10 odd pips short of the weekly pivot. So that might be a nice place to start looking as well. I've also got a short bias, but it's not. Oh, it's actually back where you are roughly, because I'm trying to trade off the top of that range that's just been broken. So I need it to get back underneath that trade line or trend line, and then have a really test and see how we go from there.
Oh yeah, that looks good, doesn't it? Yeah, because I've got a little trend line from, is that the 1st of October? What's that low down there?
Hang on a second. I'll go to the chart.
What
low is at the 17th of October, I think. Yep.
Is this the Euro CAD?
Yes.
Yeah, Euro CAD. So if you go back to the previous time frame,
the 4 hour.
Yeah, 4 hours, great. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, and I've got the low. What's
right.
Yes. Yeah. Down there, and then if we extrapolate right through that line, we're actually below that area, which again, I tuck in there exactly, and that's another reason that I like the longer term prospect of this one falling down.
Okay. I'm seeing a lot of this. The technicals are arguing with the fundamentals, or is it the fundamentals arguing with the technicals? I'm not sure. And I think you see a bit of that when the market's in a little bit of flux or uncertainty. That's definitely the case. With this Euro CAD, which looks very, very nice for downside, I agree. The fundamentals, and I haven't got an oil chart. I should have an oil chart. Let me find an oil chart. Here we go. So the oil chart is suggesting that, if I go to the daily chart, is suggesting that oil's coming off big time, and it's certainly doing that, and it's hard to see this stopping anytime soon. So I'm thinking that the CAD may be in a little bit of strife, which brings this as a race to the bottom. Is it Euro weaker or is it CAD weaker? So I think that is very much in my mind. Well,
maybe that's enough to stay out. When you sort of see fundamentals that aren't in agreement, and maybe we don't have the reason, maybe it's enough to stay out. Certainly for the interim, anyway.
We shall see. Anyway, mate, thank you for ducking in. I know you probably got to duck off.
No problem, mate. Well, yeah. Enjoy the rest of the show, and I will speak to you tomorrow. I won't be in, but maybe we'd be okay for Monday. It looks like I might have sorted this out. Certainly to get through it this way anyway.
All right, mate. Happy days. You might have to be at the swimming pool tomorrow. Who knows?
Actually,
good Wi-Fi.
Yeah, we're not on tomorrow anyway, are we?
No, I won't.
Oh, great.
You can try if you like.
Okay. All right, mate. Thanks for that. I'll speak to you Monday.
Have a good weekend, mate.
You too, buddy. See you later. See you later, guys.
Righto. With any luck, you're seeing my screen again, guys. I hope that's the case. And if it is, we're on the West Texas Intermediate Daily Chart. And here's where I'm just made that point. We've obviously got a falling West Texas Intermediate price at the moment, and sharply falling. Retracement of the weekly pivot, and bang, still going. I can't really see this turning around anytime soon. And the reason I say that is, where's it going to turn around? The strongest level on this chart is probably that one, or the strongest next level on this chart is probably that one, where we've got the strong support here, strong support here, strong support here, strong resistance here, support here, and just shy of resistance there. So I see that as the strongest level on this chart, or the next strongest level on this chart, if you like. And I don't see that changing anytime until we get there. We're, a long way from there, of course. Some 30 odd pips, and that's a lot on this chart. So that's a daily chart. I'd be looking at this very, very closely before I do get into a short against the CAD, because I think the CAD is likely to weaken on the back of that. So that's why I say, yes, I can definitely see this as well, but it's very, very tough for me to be thinking short anything against the CAD, whereas obviously the reverse applies. I'm very keen to trade short against the yen. Let's have a look at the 30-minute charts that we really haven't done and see exactly where they sit at the moment. This is dollar yen, and I think this is probably what we were expecting. We're expecting a weekly pivot test. Are we now expecting, and I did say I thought this might oscillate in between the weekly pivot and the daily pivot for a little bit, because the pivots are very, very close together. That may or may not be the case, of course, but at the moment that's looking like what's happening. I think I'd be prepared to back my judgment if I could turn this into a trade short. And the reason I'm saying that is we've got a double top here, or even a triple top. And if this is a potential lower high, then I think I want to be on board that. So in 20 minutes time, I'll be looking at this candle very closely. That is dollar yen. EuroCAD we've just spoken about. Aussie yen has not hit that daily pivot like we were asking it to. And sadly, again, this is the second day in a row this has happened, where the high test, low test combination that I don't trade has in fact produced another entry that would have been at profit for sure. So I'm a little bit miffed about that as well, that we didn't get the opportunity to trade it. But again, something that I don't trade, and maybe I need to look at that in the current climate, because it seems to be happening, I won't say with regular monotony, but I will say twice in a row. And if things happen twice, 3, 4 times in a row, it's certainly time you started to look at it. So that's what I will do. I'll have a look at these little high test, low test combinations and see if we can find a way around that. Yeah, it's just too tough, really too tough for that reason. From here, I don't see an entry at all. Maybe if these highs are taken out and there's a retest of the trend line, call it what you want, maybe there's an opportunity there, but we've really missed that entry now, and that's a bit of a shame. Aussie Kiwi, same applies, and here's the flip side of that. Let me show you. Aussie yen. We've got, let me go back to the 30-minute chart and compare apples with apples. We've got a high test bar followed by a low test bar and a potential reversal on that bar, which happened. Go to Aussie Kiwi. We've got a high test bar, a low test bar, potential reversal on this one, and it hasn't happened. So, you tell me. It's a little bit tough at the moment, and the market is a little bit like that. So just treading quite warily as we go. Tough one again, because I was looking for price to pull back to this trend line after it had broken, and of course we've just shot straight through the daily pivot. So patience again required there, and I don't. Well, I know now that I won't be trading this as a false break of this trade line, because it's now gone. It's shot through. It's gone too far. So I'll get rid of that. It's of no longer any use to me. And we'll wait for something else to set up. Still in a good position to trade, but we just need the candles to do what we're asking them to do. And here's, again, it just puts egg all over your face when this happens, because I said I can't trade that as a reversal bar. And the reason I can't trade that as a reversal bar is that we're trading counter trend. And although, yes, I wanted to trade long, I was waiting for a higher low. And look what happens. Bang goes your mangoes. Look, I won't change anything. That's the way I trade. And to me, it's a high probability way to trade. There's just no way I can pick that. It's, trying to catch the falling knife, if you like. And it's just too tough an exercise. Nice, though, if you manage to get into it. And that would be a nice little trade up there. Cable, well, it's put on a bit of a spurt as well. We were looking for this to happen, of course, but again, we were looking for something that gave us concrete evidence that it was about to happen. So far, that's not the case. We've had just a reversal bar and nothing more. I need to see a higher low before I get into this long. Of course, it can just go straight there, as the others have, and we will miss the boat. One that hasn't disappointed, well, I suppose in many ways. Again, we've got high test bar, low test bar, low test bar. Not for me. Again, I'd like to see something a little bit more concrete than that. The daily pivot was an issue, as I said before. So no trade there for me yet either, and still waiting on Aussie dollar. Euro dollar, as I said, it just continues to be the case, doesn't it? Had you picked one, you probably could have picked the lot, and you would be very, very happy with yourself right now. But for me, no, it's too risky to just take those on off one bar, and I'll be still waiting for that higher low on all of those crosses that we've spoken about. So no trades, sadly, because they're going in the direction that we wanted to trade, which is pretty much counter trend. But there you go. It's something up with which we must put, as I said before. Now, Ash was looking for a long on the FTSE, but I don't know if he would have been trading yet. And I think he's got the same story, got the same scenario. I think he's probably waiting, or was waiting, for maybe a break and back test of that area, and that would get him interested, but not at this point, I don't believe. The Euro CAD was the other one, and that hasn't set up yet either. I think I'm looking for a weekly pivot test here, but I don't know that I'm too keen to trade Euro CAD short because of the oil situation that is tumbling and tumbling and tumbling. So let's have a look at the quote of the day, guys. And this today comes to us with the letter R, because Mr. Dave Ramsey produced it. His quote is that you must gain control over your money, or the lack of it will forever control you. Now, that may not be related directly to trading, but in my opinion, if you actually listen to what the words are saying, it actually can relate to trading. You must gain control over your money, or the lack of it will forever control you. What that, to me, and probably not the intent of the quote, but what it is saying to me is, if you're not prepared to control your risk and control the amount of money that you put in the market and to manage it properly, then it will forever control you. What does that mean? It means it puts you under pressure. If you're in a losing position and you've traded a bad trade, you're looking at the dollars because you're looking at your account go backwards instead of looking at the trade. And that is a very, very bad and sad place to be. So I don't think this is off kilter or off tilt at all. I think this is very relevant to the trading world, and you must gain control over your money. And to me, that means controlling what you're putting into the market, controlling your risk, and then managing your risk once you're in the trade. It's very, very pertinent because it will have a very bad effect on you if you don't do that and your risk is spiraling out of control. You get into a heated emotional state and the money is actually controlling you because, as I said, you're looking at your account balance rather than what you should be looking at, and that's the trade. Who is Dave Ramsey? I hear you say. Well, he's actually quite a colourful character, Christian guy. And doesn't seem so much of his bio there, but he's got a radio program that's syndicated, I'm not sure, 500 radio stations throughout the States and Canada, and in podcast format. So if you wanted to have a look at this man called Mr. Dave Ramsey, go and Google him. He's the first man that'll come up. And he's very, very interesting. He's come back from bankruptcy after he built a rental real estate portfolio worth $4 million in 1986, as it says there. He went bankrupt due to the bank going broke, and he couldn't pay the money back, and he had to file for bankruptcy in 1988. And as it says here, he's a counsellor, and he's a very, very interesting guy. So if you want to have a look at him, then go into Dave Ramsey, and there you will find a bio on him, and up he'll come on Google, and you can have a listen to his podcast if you want. And he's a very, very wise man. Okay, so that is quote of the day, and one again with which I wholeheartedly concur. I guess you'd be surprised if I said anything different because I'm actually bringing the quotes up. I'd hardly, well, maybe we could have a controversial day where we have a quote that I actually completely disagree with. There's an idea. I might look at that next week. Stupid quotes. Why not? Just for a change. All right, we've got 10 minutes left in the show, and 10 minutes to find something that really tweaks our interest. What tweaks our interest is the fact that these crosses have in fact, or these pairs have in fact taken off without me, and in the perfect direction, every one of them going in the perfect direction apart from the yen pairs at the moment. But that provides me with opportunities. I'm looking for anything short against the yen. Euro yen, pound yen, not so much Aussie yen because of that number that was produced out of the news today, that unemployment figure, and the unemployment rate fell from 5.3% down to 5%. And that's a very, very strong number. And we haven't seen the likes of it in Australia for 6 years. And that's why I think the Aussie is exempt from my bias to trade short against the yen. Dollar yen we're going to have a look at, and the reason we want to have a look at this is because we're getting a very, very nice scenario here. We've got a double top sitting here. We've had a rally, sorry, we've had a bit of a fall to the daily pivot. We're having a quick rally here now, but we're unable to get back to the week or through the weekly pivot at this stage. I see this as a potential short. Now, I'm not saying it's a long journey here, but it could be, because if this is a reversal of a retracement, which is really what this is, if I have a look at the bigger picture, so we're trading, well, sorry, we're trending short, but we've come off a rally to this weekly pivot area and can't get back through it at this point in time. That little scenario there is interesting, but if this one falls down or breaks down, that will even be more interesting. So here's where I think our potential opportunity to trade this short is. And if it does occur, and we've got about 7 minutes and 40 seconds, in fact, before we actually find this opportunity, or if it's going to actually present itself, then there is a possibility that this can go quite a distance. If you consider that this is a potential reversal, if I go to the daily chart and we're looking to put in a lower low, then that takes us down to this area. Probably this area here where we've seen resistance, we've seen support, and support through here as well. So there's a potential good trade on here, in my opinion. So our entry would be about here, risking, I don't know, maybe even 20 pips for a potential 150 pip gain. That's why I'm interested in this dollar yen. So I'll be looking at that quite closely in about 6 minutes and 30 seconds from now. What do I need to see? Well, I'd really like to see a reversal bar. That would be good. And if it were to be the candle, look, it's way small. It's only a 7 pip candle. That makes it even more interesting. Not that I like to trade 7 pip candles. Maybe we could put our stop up there. Interesting, isn't it? Okay. I'll come back to it, but yeah, it's got me intrigued. What else? Euro CAD, Ash was looking at no. Aussie yen, no, not going long there at resistance. Aussie Kiwi, no. Pound yen, no. Euro yen, right on the daily pivot. Is this a good place to find a short? Hell yeah. But not on this bar. We need to wait until daily pivot does its thing and puts price back below this line. Then we get a retest. So looking for that break and retest of the trend line. Then we can look to trade it short, providing, of course, that we've got room for profit before the bottom of this range, because we don't want to be trading into that without profit in the bank. So if you do get into that move, then definitely scale out before you hit the bottom of that range. I'll be looking to do that. Cable, big bar now, really big bar now. And that probably, I'm going to say puts me out of action on pound for a while. And that's the case, but it doesn't deter me until I see a higher low here. Daily pivot's untested. Weekly pivot's very close. You'd be expecting price to go back in that area. So there's no surprise here. What happens next, of course, is the burning question. And you can see these resistance lines that I've got in here that smash straight through. Holding it up now, of course. I don't see any trade for me here anytime soon. Even if long. If long, I think I can get rid of that line now. If we get a pullback to here and a higher low forms, then there's a possibility to trade to here, to this area. But I can't do it at the moment. So I need to wait for that higher low. And as I said before, that's very much the case on a lot of these crosses like that, which unfortunately for me is an untradeable scenario. Low test bar, I just don't trade it. And especially when it's preceded by a high test bar. Sadly, because that's exactly what we've seen today. And these reversal rallies, if you want to call it that, have just shot through that may provide opportunities down the track, but not now. All right, so the focus is going to be on dollar yen, and if the candle looks like that, it'll be very, very tempting to trade it. I would, however, be putting my stop up here, so we can actually set this up. And we'll set it up like so. New order. 30 again. I'm only going to go in here at small risk. So 0.5 of one lot is perfect. We'll enter the market underneath the candle with about 3 pips to spare. So 112.57 is the low at the moment. We'll go 112.54, providing it doesn't go any lower, of course, which it can. 112.54. Pending order. It's a sell stop. And 112.54 is where we want it to be. There we go. All right, so we're ready to go. We're just waiting on that candle to close. And if it closes as is, that will be the order. Stop loss. Where have we got that level? 112.74. So we turn that into a 20 pip risk with lots of potential reward. And with what, 50 seconds to go, that's looking pretty good. Doesn't want to turn into a bull bar, however. If it turns into a bull bar with no tail, then everything changes. "30 seconds. "15 seconds. Bit of action there, but it's not being friendly. Wow, it's neither here nor there, is it really? A shocker. All right, I'm just going to cut my risk down. I'm still going to trade it. I'm just going to cut my risk in half and make it 0.25 of one lot. And the entry now I've forgotten, 54, wasn't it? Yep. So it's not the bar I wanted it to be, but it is a high test bar. It is coming off the weekly pivot, and there's plenty of space below it. So we're going to place the order. All right, so entry is, I don't know why I can't see it. Why can't I see it? I don't know. Terminal dollar yen. It's there. Okay, that's fair enough. As soon as we're triggered here, or if we're triggered here, what I'll be looking for is a spike to the short side. I'll definitely be taking profit around this level here, the bottom of this bull bar. We've got a 20 pip risk, which we do. Then I want to be taking profit there, round about the open of this bull bar here. So that's what I'll be doing. I'll be taking profit here at the bottom of the bull bar. I'll take half of my position off at that point, and the rest I will trail until, like I said before, we get down to around about the 111 mark. So there's going to be plenty of time for that to happen, I would think. Now, if this fails and there's a second opportunity to get in here, then I'll be taking that as well. But if the weekly pivot does break, this is the next level to look for that short. So it'll be on this line here, around about the DR1 level that you can see. I'd like price to break that, consolidate for a couple of candles, get back below it, retest it, and then try for the short again. That's if it fails. If it doesn't fail, then happy days. We'll be all snug and well. All right, guys, that's the show for the day and the week. Thank you very, very much for your company. We've got pound still going strong on the daily chart, and potentially we'll have dollar yen short on the 30-minute chart. Potentially not, but potentially we will. And we're waiting for these yen crosses to give me something that resembles a turnaround on what we're currently seeing. So thank you very much for your company. We'll look forward to it again next week when we'll start back on Monday. And you have a good weekend. We'll catch you next week. Bye-bye for now.